Such things can only seem foolish to a man that cannot actually spiritually discern, no matter how intelligent or talented a person may be, or how high their IQ is. Without the Spirit of God and the acknowledgement of His sovereignty, it can be said that they have a spiritual IQ. If we're going to give physical IQ, spiritual IQ. Without God, we have a spiritual IQ of 0. Okay, and that is another thing that's lacking, is that you don't need God. Okay, the Creator that created everything on the earth, in the earth, on top of the earth, under the earth. You don't need Him. You be your own God. Okay, whether they say it or not in those words, but that is the sentiment. So none of the problems common to individuals or nations can be properly addressed, okay, or resolved without the involvement of the Holy Spirit at work in our minds. Okay, human intelligence and ingenuity have value, but they are insufficient, and that it also can come into ego and pride. Okay, pride. Now, even attempting to tell people that they do not have this spiritual component, if you will, is sometimes a useless exercise. Okay, if God is not opening their minds. So that's another aspect, and that's something that I struggle with, even though I know it. When I tell people things and they can't discern it, but it would require God's Holy Spirit to be upon them, because that's how the discernment works. Okay, and you have to be open to it, and you must acknowledge God's presence and His sovereignty. So there's some references at John 6 verse 44 and 65. Now, it will seem foolish to them because even this information, okay, is spiritually discerned. The more intelligent, the more self-reliant and accomplished that a person actually is, the more foolish, okay, it will probably seem to him or her to be told that his mind is incomplete or insufficient to understand and grasp certain things. God's hand must be upon you. The Holy Spirit must be upon you. Okay? So if Adam had eaten, going back to Adam, from the tree of life, he would have received, of course, the Spirit of God. He would have learned the way of love, the give way, okay? The give way instead of the get way of life. That is actually very prevalent today, okay? There's a reference about this at Romans 13:10. So also, he would also know the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Spirit. And there's a reference at Romans 5:5. Okay, Romans 5:5. So at Romans 8:6, it states this: for to be carnally, which means physically minded, is death. Okay, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. If Adam had received the Spirit of God, he would have had life inherent within him. Okay, he would have been an inheritor, okay, with Christ as much as any true Christian today. He would have also known the way to peace. So this is absolutely remarkable to understanding. Okay, it's actually very key. Unknown to all, but a very scattered few on earth right now. And it has not been understood, actually, in all honesty, until our time that we're in this season in which we're living in now. So we're going to end this particular episode with the concept of great confusion. What am I talking about? Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 14:33 this, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints." And then we see at verse 40, he added this, "Let all things be done decently and in order." It is God's will that there be order and structure. Okay, he's not a God of chaos and confusion. Okay, but when we look at the world, okay, this is all that we see. We see disorder. Okay, and instead of order and structure, we see war instead of peace. Okay, we see indecency. Okay, instead of decency. And we see confusion instead of clear understanding. Okay, so this goes back to some previous episodes in which I talked about the character and the attributes of God, as well as we also talked about the attributes and the character of the adversary as well. And we compared and contrast. And when you're on the fence about things, whether something is of God or if it's from the adversary, this is a good way of knowing or judging and observing and hopefully discerning. So now we ask some very critical and very crucial questions. Why is this world filled with confusion? Why is it such a terrible state of disorder? Why do disorder and confusion permeate religion, education, values, morals, ethics, philosophy, politics, and most importantly, government? Why have men not been able to answer life's most important questions? Now, this world is filled with, unfortunately, disease, lots of diseases. Turn on the news, talk to other people, all types of diseases that are affecting us, animals, all types of things, war, famine, ignorance, even poverty, pollution, sheer hatred. You look in people's faces and they look mad and you're not really sure why. Crime, immorality, corruption, misery, and just plain old-fashioned unhappiness. Why can the world, leaders not solve these problems? If we don't need God and we are ourselves our own gods, then why do we still have these problems? If Satan the adversary is our buddy and our pal and he wants what's best for us, why is everything so messed up? Doesn't seem like he's got our back, does it? Maybe I'm not seeing things clearly. Is that, friend? So is it because they do not know the one who actually has the solutions and that they are denying even exists? That's something to really think about. Is it because they do not know where to find the answers? Is it because the devil, is playing a far greater role than they actually realize? So we've talked about this over and over again, and I may sound like a broken record, but think about it. If he is mankind's cheerleader, he's got our back, and we've got God, who is a tyrant, he's a dictator, he's this, he's that, and he's the third, he's absent, he doesn't care, he's unloving. Then why is everything happening the way it's happening? Why, if Satan has our back, why is everything falling apart? Why? I want to know why. This is something to just think about. Just think about it. You don't have to believe everything I'm saying. You don't have to take my word on everything. But it's just something that you have beautiful brains. And I realize what I said. You need the God's Holy Spirit to be upon you. Discernment. But just sit for a second and just think about it. If this is the case, then why